Well, hello everybody, Dr. Dick and Weatherby here, and I'm joined today by Dr. Richard Powell, practicing chiropractic physician for the last 31 years, licensed in not only Illinois, but also North Carolina and South Carolina. Welcome, Dr. Powell. Perhaps you could tell us a little bit about your practice. You've been in practice for a very long time. I know that you do both chiropractic work and also have been a practicing functional medicine practitioner for many years.
Yes, Dickon. Well, thank you very much. Actually, my chiropractic practice has now been minimized over the last 10 years, and the functional medicine practice has really blossomed and really growing and taking off. My introduction with functional medicine actually began with you when you were with Dr. Grisanti with Functional Medicine University a number of years ago, when I took the coursework and learned a lot through you folks at that time. And I had a personal issue as well, because at the time I weighed about 258 pounds, and through the knowledge and testing, I found out that my thyroid gland was not working, thyroid hormones weren't working properly. And as a follow-up test, found out that I wasn't absorbing my iodine through urine test we were able to do. Basically, bromine was blocking the iodine absorption, and so I did a short course of iodine supplementation, restarted my thyroid function, and follow up with blood tests from there, and found out that I lost about 30 pounds right away.
Wow.
Then as a follow-up from that, probably about 5-6 years ago, when Cyrex Labs came out, I did a follow-up test and found out that I was a gluten-sensitive person as well. And then did cross-reactivity tests and found out that there were certain foods that were inflammatory to my system, and therefore I shouldn't be doing that. Over the last 10 years, though, my niche is to help reverse type 2 diabetes. I also do some thyroid and autoimmune conditions as well. Typically my blood panel is a very comprehensive blood panel that we utilize your software with and put everybody into that system. And then when the reporting for the patients, I can give them that nice colored report with follow-up with them. It saves me a lot of time in that, one, I don't have to sit there and go through every bit of information with the patient. I may highlight some of the high points, but they can take that home and read it and share that with any family members. So it's a nice take-home piece for them. Additionally, any follow-up blood tests, we get a nice comparative value there so we can see changes that are occurring, so we can clinically determine how that patient's progressing or regressing or that sort of thing.
Wonderful. Well, I mean, there's nothing like a personal health journey to take us into this work, is there?
That's correct.
So I'm curious, though. You know, you had a chiropractic practice that is more structurally oriented. How was it for you with your patients and the flow of your practice? How was it to make that adjustment to, I would expect, probably go to more of a consultative type service, running blood work, prescribing nutritional protocols and lifestyle changes too. But how was that for you, for both you and your patients?
Well, it's very interesting you say that because, yes, it is. It's kind of like a dual thing that you've got. One is a structural basis. People come in with musculoskeletal complaints, pain situations. And now if you look at a functional medicine type of situation, they have another disease, and they don't always relate it to pain and symptoms. So I've had this dilemma in my mind and in my practice of how do I have both at the same time. And I found out that I really can't have both at the same time. One, the functional medicine practice is becoming more forefront in my mind and in my practice, and I find a lot of patients, when they're looking me up or something to that effect, if they find the musculoskeletal thing, they think, oh, what does he know about diabetes, or what does he know about thyroid? That's because they see the musculoskeletal chiropractic component of that. So I've minimized my marketing and my promotion of that, and actually changed the sign on my door in my office. You come in my office, you don't see anything regarding musculoskeletal work at all, because I don't want to have a mixed message. I want people to believe that, you know, this is a physician's office, that we can help them in their condition, those conditions. Now, I still see a few patients that are musculoskeletal, but they're the long-term existing patients I've had, and I don't see that musculoskeletal practice growing at all at this point.
Wonderful. Sounds like you're using blood testing as a pretty important part of your diagnostic or assessment procedures. How do you find that doing blood testing combined with other diagnostic and assessment techniques, how do you find that works for you?
Oh, it's very critical. I mean, that's part of my on all my protocols. I always start with a very, very comprehensive blood test, including vitamin D, inflammatory markers like homocysteine, ferritin, some of those types of things, urinalysis. And then we also do a adrenal stress index test with androgen hormone panels as well as a take-home test for the patient. And we also do a 3-day parasitology stool sample as well. That takes another take-home test for the patient. This allows us to track basically 3 components, what I look as the 3 pillars of diabetes. One is certainly inflammatory markers and blood chemistries, and you'll see anemias showing up there. You'll see infections, that sort of thing. And that's what we address in what I call the initial pillar is the liver. And so we put a patient on a 3-week detoxification protocol and then track their blood sugar, have them track their blood sugars daily for about a 3-week period. Then at that end of that 3-week period, we'll get the adrenal stress index test back as well as the stool sample. And that's where we enter the second phase where we put them on addressing the adrenals. And that's where we start changing the protocols, the nutritional supplementation, and working on the adrenal function. And that'll last probably about another month, maybe 2. And then we address finally the gut. Typically a leaky gut's involved, but there might be parasites, fungal infections, some of those things that we have to address as well in the third component.
Wow, very comprehensive indeed. That's fantastic. What was life like before you had something like a software program to help with blood testing?
Well, I got to be honest with you, Dick. Well, I've had your books, and I know that there was a handwritten forms in them where you could actually try to track them and do them before and after. But it became very tedious, very long standing, and your homework was a lot involved if you're going to do everything. And to be honest with you, I really wasn't keeping track of things as well as I can now with your software.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I've heard practitioners say if I have a patient that really needs good in-depth analysis, it would take me anywhere from an hour to an hour and 30 minutes. But now with the software, it's about 15 minutes. I get a report, and then I can start moving on to preparing the patient consult.
Right.
How has the reporting been received by your patients?
Oh, I love it. I mean, they have a nice color. We always print ours up in color, so we have nice color pamphlet we can hand back to the patient. We give the patient a 3-ring binder so they can keep track of all their labs. They get copies of this, and they share it with their medical doctors, physicians, so that they can see the progress the patients are making. And we're getting nice feedback from them as well, saying, wow, this is a great report. It explains things in a nice customer-friendly way that they can see this. And, of course, they share this with their family members, and because not everybody's always at the consultations and reports. So it's really nice that they can take that home, and they look forward to the changes. So when we do follow-up blood work or any other testing, they really look forward to those tests. Yeah,
that's what I've heard too, is like it actually makes it almost easier to have them come in for a retest because they're almost anxious to see what change has been made. And I think that the software does a nice job on that. So it's sort of a final question for you. If there was a chiropractic physician or a practitioner listening to you today, what would be some of the things that you would say to them in regards to implementing functional medicine, using a software program, putting functional biochemistry analysis into their practices? I mean, what words of wisdom could you let them have?
Well, as a musculoskeletal practitioner for a number of years, and if you're currently in that model of care, you know that the wolf is at the door. I mean, with all types of other practitioners from acupuncturists to physical therapists to everybody's chasing that same small percentage of patients, and then of course you're going to have the financial gain on that, or supply of that is very, very minimal. It's very difficult to make a living in that day and age. And as you age, you probably won't be able to see that 100 to 200 to 300 patients a week to make a living. So therefore, transitioning over to functional medicine, which as a chiropractic physician, we have a very, very in-depth knowledge in our schooling, which a lot of us haven't used for a number of years. That's why getting into functional medicine, I think, is very, very important. And you'll find your niche, whether it be thyroid or autoimmune or diabetes or neuropathy. You really need to find a niche that works for you, that would be economically feasible, and then utilize good tools, such as the functional medicine blood chemistry analysis, the software that Dickon has created. This is a very vital tool so that you can really utilize your time appropriately and make accurate decisions.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for sharing that and for all the work that you're doing in helping patients achieve health and wellness. It's really phenomenal to hear the success that you've had and the work that you're doing. So I really appreciate it.
Very good. Well, thank you again, Dick, and I really appreciate all the work you put into this whole program and your teaching over the years to help me and train me to what I do. Thank you again.
All right. Thanks, Rick.